and I lost your video again. Can you wiggle it?
They're almost worth the frustration.
We're trying something.
How's that?
Yeah.
There. Oh, there. Oop, gone.
We do it every Sunday morning, but it's, you know, once
There.
it's set up and running, it's easy.
Yep, gone.
I don't think your connector's
First
that
time?
good.
No,
See, that's what we're getting here. You know how to do it.
man. We do it on an app on the phone, yeah.
How's that?
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Stand.
Pull it out a little bit.
Tighter fit.
Okay, you're good to go.
All right. Thank you all for sharing this Saturday morning with us today. I think I know most of you in here. I'm Marion McMillan, K1 MRM. I am a member of Anderson Oxcom, Anderson Radio Club, and really excited about what we're going to talk about today. Against significant headwinds, digital communication is here to stay. It's an extremely useful tool for emergency communications. We talked about WinLink last session, and I would consider that to be a minimum, primarily because you can send forms and detailed conversations, needs, etc., with minimum bandwidth, 100% clarity, error checking, etc. Well, today we're going to do a deep dive on VarAC. VarAC, I believe, is the emerging standard in digital communications, offering keyboard-to-keyboard texting, email with forms, submission, bulletin boards are available, and it has a number of features which I'm going to cover, which I think make it the emerging premier replacement for things like FL Digi, which has certainly been useful in the past, especially in the emergency arena. And as I'm fond of saying, I'll say it again, the marriage between a computer and a radio is arduous and tenuous, but it can be done, and the results are usually worthwhile. Okay, this is going to be an overview. What I'd like to do is tell you why I'm so excited about VarAC, why I think it has tremendous potential, and share a bit about what it's able to do. But you will not get this unless you practice and work at it. I suggest that you pair up with a buddy that's interested in it, and you guys start to communicate with each other. Just to kind of feel it out and see what's going on. You'll start out texting, then you can send V-mails, they call them, and then ultimately maybe post some things on bulletin board. You can do a net. You can do all sorts of things with VarAC, and right now it's free. VarAC is built on a backbone of the VARA HF modem. It's especially robust, as many digital modes are. It can decode signals easily down to -15 dB, and in some cases -20 or so. And it's designed for reliability, efficiency, and ease of use. It's peer-to-peer chat, email, text, and forms submission, and has a lot of uses in the EmComm community. We talked about most of this, and again, in yellow, real-time chat, email, file transfer. If you're into just plain old QSOs and having fun with VarAC, it links directly to most of the major logging programs where you don't have to do anything but hit a button and it goes to the logging program, so that's good. Don't use too much of that in the EmComm community, but it is available. And it's a modern alternative to some of the things that we're perhaps more familiar with or have heard of. VARA, again, was created by Jose Alberto Nieto Ros, EA5HBK. It uses automatic repeat requests to achieve an error-free transmission. They got an HF modem, a satellite modem, an FM version, and the license to try it out is free. This has a lot of applications in the WinLink community, with PACTOR being the other modem which is used in WinLink, but that's quite expensive, anywhere from $1,500 on the used market up to about $1,800 brand new. And I think VARA is seeing a lot of use as a replacement for PACTOR, because it's fast, it's reliable, it's well thought out. These links are live. The slides are posted on the Anderson Radio Club website. You're encouraged to go there for additional information. Follow the links, but you can get VARA. VARA's, you just Google on VARA, you'll see it. You go straight to the website, and the limited speed version is free. The regular high speed version, I think it's up to $75 now for a lifetime license, irrespective of which variety you're using, HF, satellite, or FM. So I think it's money well spent for those that have this kind of interest. Real-time text conversations. In other words, it's a connected mode. And I think that's probably the biggest difference between VARA, VarAC, WinLink. It's a connected mode, which means that two stations have actually had a handshake, and they're actually communicating bidirectionally with automatic repeat requests, error checking, forward error correction. These are all protocols that have been designed to make transmissions error-free. Now, on the other hand, if the signal is barely decodable, sometimes you'll get locked in a loop where it keeps trying to make it happen. And you just learn that if you're too much below minus 15 or 16 dB, that one's not going to work out. You can either go to a different band or what have you. But I think the advantages of forward error correction, automatic repeat requests connected to another station, far outweigh any disadvantages associated with propagation. Beaconing. This is sometimes referred to as the heartbeat indicator. If you're on, you have to be on a calling frequency. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But you're beaconing every 15 seconds or so to let another station know that you're out there. And you'll see the beacons come across the monitor screen. And if you double click on one, that's how you would connect to that particular station if they're if it's attended. If it's unattended, they won't respond. And of course, the bulletin board feature does have a file server attached to it for posting files, forms, photographs, what have you. So it's really quite useful. Let's see here. All right, basic architecture. You've got VarAC there at the top, and through TCP, UDP connections to your logging program, and it supports Ham Radio Deluxe and a couple others that everybody uses. You can output to PSK Reporter, which is kind of useful as a propagation tool, lets you know where your signal is being heard. Those of you that have used that in the past will recognize that. It's got your VARA modem, which is the basis for how it operates. And of course, VARA's got a monitor function. But this is the screen that we look at. And we're going to try to have a demonstration at the end of this talk so you can sort of see how it works. And of course, the ubiquitous, if not infamous, EmComm 7300 at the bottom of the pile there. It offers frequency control, PTT, and it works with most radios. They have a list of things it's been tested with, because they all do basically the same thing, just different ways of getting there. And of course, the EmComm 7300 is the darling of the emergency communications crowd. Okay, and why is it better? Well, again, we talked about that. Much faster data throughput than PSK 31, if you've ever played with that. It is a connected mode, error correction. automatic repeat requests, has a modern graphical user interface. It can, integrated messaging, primarily because it's a connected mode. And they've really put a lot of work into this to be a free product. Very reliable, weak signal especially. Think of the flexibility that FT8 has. FT8 can decode ridiculous, levels of signal, and VARA is right up there with it as far as its ability to decode weak signals. Much better than you could ever talk at. I mean, you get much below, -3, -5 dB, you're going to have a tough time talking with, voice communication. But these digital modes can really, really make it happen. And if you've ever done, let's say, something like PSK31, I would say, in my experience, about 90 to 95% of the characters come through. It takes a bit of imagination to fill in the blanks sometimes. But, obviously it's workable. But there's a lot more operator intervention trying to figure out what's actually being said. Not so with digital. It's either all or none, which is, kind of nice, I think. All right, and this is just kind of telling you, what it can do. They say -22, but I would say -15 is what I've seen in my own experience. But even that's pretty good. Top speed for HF is around 7,000 bits per second. Bandwidth anywhere from 500 to 2,300 hertz. And of course, VARA, VHF, UHF is the fastest. If you've ever played with WinLink, VHF, and WinLink HF, you can just see VHF just flying across the screen. Very, very fast. That helps. Let's see. We've talked about some of this. There's a bit of redundancy on some of these slides. Now, I take issue with the last bullet point. I don't think it's a low learning curve. I think it's a relatively flat learning curve. But you're gonna have to put the time in. One of the best resources I'm going to show you at the end is a video by one of the YouTube creators, and you'll see that I've looked at that video 10 times. It's just extremely helpful. It'll get you started, and when you get a partner to practice it, I think you'll start to realize what a powerful tool this really is. But the learning curve, is not a low learning curve. You have to be committed, and I think once you see how it works, if you have any interest at all in this sort of thing, you're going to appreciate the advantages. Store and forward messaging. This is very similar to WinLink. You can leave messages for offline stations, and once they come back on, they can pick it up. When they log back on, it'll be there in their mailbox. Very similar to WinLink. It's very, very, very useful. Obviously, with real-time communication is not possible for whatever reason. Let's see, emergency communications value works without the internet. Of course, WinLink has a radio to radio.
Connector, would you?
I'm sorry, got connector problems here. Is that better?
No.
Nope. Sorry. Excuse me. Oops. Oh, that's great. All right, we had a little issue here. Might want to pause the. Is it on now?
No.
What about now?
No.
No.
You got to see it up there first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had it there. Let's see.
Using VARA is easier than doing this.
Well, depends. Second here, what's going on? Okay, mirror displays. That's what we want to do there. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
And you got it? Good. All right, let's go back. That was slide number 12. So we'll have to go back to that there. There we go. All right. Okay. So we were talking about working without the internet, long distance HF communication or regional with an NVIS antenna. reliable messaging under degraded conditions, just a lot of things that make it applicable to dicey conditions that you sometimes encounter in the field. Peer-to-peer, no central server required. That's another reliability feature. Portable field fixed stations, compatible with common HF radios and sound cards. You know, of course, you have what you have, but as far as HF radios, the EmComm family is going to be hard to beat because for some reason that's what everybody uses. Yaesus can be a bit tricky because of the way their menus are set up, but obviously it is doable. All my stuff is EmComm. I don't know that much about Yaesu, but I'm certainly willing to try to help someone if they have one. And, you know, again, scalable, local, regional, national use with VarAC and the VARA protocol. Just going to say a word about the bulletin board capability. Again, shared public messaging. You can post bulletins that anyone that can connect can get. Don't need a centralized internet-based infrastructure because it's probably not going to be there when these things are most needed. And it is built on the store and forward messaging protocols that are built into VarAC. Okay, so for the bulletin board, a station would enable the BBS mode. And again, this is part of the VarAC architecture of how it's set up. You can do this. It starts beaconing, which there's a method on the beacon to indicate that that there is a message hub or a bulletin board available. Now again, it's not. I don't think you can limit who can use the bulletin board. Anybody can see it, could actually use it, consistent with amateur radio communications not being encrypted, at least not for public use. And you can selectively download whatever you're interested in, and the messages stay on the bulletin board until the originator deletes it, or until, if it's time limited, it expires. Very, very useful feature, especially for folks in different locations. You can get messages out, which will be there in the store and forward type environment. Now, just want to say a little bit about the operation of VARA AC. You have calling frequencies, multiple calling frequencies on each band. I'm not going to go through each one right now, but in other words, there's 40 meters, 20 meters. I believe there's 30 meters, a couple other ones. But once you establish a QSO, it's got slots that are above and below that calling frequency in 750 hertz steps. And just to know that, the idea is that you would connect on a calling frequency and then QSY to a slot above or below the calling frequency. And if you're connected to a station, when you QSY, they will automatically get a request to QSY. And of course, if there's no answer, your rig will go back to the calling frequency. The point being that you don't want to clog up the calling frequencies, because that's basically how everybody, that's how you get started.
It's like an entry point.
It's an entry point, exactly. But if everybody stays on a calling frequency, you won't be, nothing will happen. Now you have to be on a calling frequency to beacon. And of course, in the unlikely, it's not very likely that two people will want the same calling frequency the same slot frequency at one time, but they have this thing called a slot sniffer. Sorry, in tune with the season here. A slot sniffer, you can press the slot sniffer and it'll tell you whether it's free or not, and then you can QSY to it and go on. So kind of a nice way to listen to see if it's available. And all these things will make more sense once you have some hands-on experience with the program. It's a lot. One of the nice things about VarAC is its flexibility and its its capabilities, but there's a lot to digest, and you're not going to get it all with one talk. You're going to have to delve into it, use the resources that I've made available, look at it again and again and again, and then eventually just pull out the old rig and start playing with it. That's just the only way. Now, the good news is most of the digital modes functionally operate in a similar fashion. They talk to a computer through a USB port. There's usually a sound card involved, which is a modulation, demodulation type device that goes from digital to analog, back to digital, back and forth. And that's pretty much it. Of course, each radio does it differently. But if you can establish a USB connection and get the two devices working together, most of them eventually have some sort of a level control. You can get your audio right. That takes a little bit of tinkering, but it's, in VARA, it's easy to do that. And once you set it up, you can pretty much set it and forget it. At least for that frequency. You go to a different frequency, sometimes things will change. But they all work pretty much the same way. Sometimes there's a COM port involved for audio devices, and you'll see that in some of the setup screens. But I mean, it's a little bit detailed, but it's not randomly detailed. You get used to the same types of things that have to be done to make it work. Let's see, the QSY port, changing bands or slots. This is, like I said, you'll start the QSO on the calling frequency, or if there's QRM, you can change to a different calling frequency. Use the slot sniffer to make sure it's open. Snot sniffer, I love that. Anyway, and up, down, whatever. Or you can select any frequency you want, and then send an invitation to your partner, and both sides will get a pop-up asking if they want to change. And of course, you have to do that. Or if not, it goes back to the calling frequency. And fortunately, most of it's automatic, but you'll understand what is happening after you go through it a time or two. Now, up here, yeah, please.
So at the highest level, what's happening is you're really, to be sure I got it in my head right, you're giving control of the radio to the computer. That's at the highest level.
Correct.
The computer is controlling the radio completely, and you set that up, and that's how that's the big picture.
Yeah, rig control is central to the whole thing. Because there's some automated functions. I guess technically you could do it all manually, but it's better to have rig control, one less thing to have to worry about. But essentially, you're letting the computer control the radio. I think it's very nice the way that the creator of VarAC has integrated things where usually good graphical interfaces, you can see what you're doing. There's no way you can blow it up, at least not with a keystroke. And I think you'll find that it's very user friendly once you get started with it and you understand what you're trying to accomplish. Now, if you look up over here in the graphic, these are all stations that are beaconing. They're just rolling across the screen in real time. And if you double click on, any one of the operators here, you can usually connect to them if they're available for a QSO. That's pretty much that. You can see the frequency that he's right now is on 20 meters, right there. That is a slot. That's a calling frequency. I'm sorry, it's not a slot. It's a calling frequency, and then he'll QSY to something else. Once he connects to his partner, and we'll go through that in the demonstration if we have time. But this video I'm going to show you really tells you everything you need to know, and I strongly encourage you to look at that multiple times and sit there and play with it, practice it. Okay, so beacons let people know you're online. the spots are uploaded to PSK Reporter, which is tied to the program. You beacon every 15 minutes. It's the minimum time. You could go longer, but 15 is the default. And the beacon only goes off if the frequency is clear. So in other words, you're not trying to beacon on a crowded frequency, and that's why you want to keep the calling frequencies, open, so everybody can beacon. And you have to be on a calling frequency in order to have a beacon go off. It kind of took me a little while to figure that out. Now, the available services, let's see. The call sign, the tag, location, this is your grid square. I'm not sure exactly what these icons mean, but you can look at some of these signal to noise ratios, -17, -14, unheard of, outside of digital communications. But these icons will indicate what services. I don't want to say because I'm not sure, but one of these is probably a bulletin board. But so you can see, who's got information that you might be interested in. If you're running a net, then you would obviously realize the call sign of whoever you want to communicate with rather. And if there's a message, that you see that particular individual is beaconing, then you would go to that if you want that information. Now you can ping. Yes.
Before you move on, it said it waits 30 seconds after the channel's clear.
It has to be clear for at least 30 seconds.
Right. Okay. At least.
At least 30 seconds.
I'm thinking the channel goes clear, and then you got 14 stations all transmit at the same time with a beacon.
Yeah, and I've never encountered that.
Okay.
I wouldn't say never, but let's just say if it's clear for 30 seconds, then it'll beacon, and you can see the beacons going across. I've never. Well, let's see. The beacon itself is every 15 seconds, so you're trying to. It has to be clear for 30 seconds, and then you beacon, and then you don't beacon again for 15 more seconds, and so it's.
They've got the same thing in APRS.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And you can actually change it.
Yeah, you can.
To 300 milliseconds.
Yeah.
And you can shift it if there's a lot
of traffic, right? That's right. And some of this you have to do on the fly, but I've never seen it be that crowded, in my experience. But you can adjust the beacon frequency. It just won't beacon any more frequently than every 15 seconds. Right. That's right. But you can make it an hour, whatever. Okay. Any other questions on that particular slide? Now, ping. Ping is something that actually WinLink VARA FM is able to ping, where you just basically want to see if you can connect to another station. This is a very useful feature because if you can't ping the station, you're not going to be able to communicate. I've never used ping, but in the course of putting this talk together, I learned about that. I'd encourage you to try that. Save you a lot of time. If you can't ping, you can't connect. And immediately after a signal to noise ratio exchange, it disconnects. A lot of features, a lot of stuff. This is an introduction. Yeah, Corey.
So I got a question. We were just chatting about it beacons every 15 minutes.
Seconds. Seconds?
No, I thought it's 15
said
minutes.
Minutes, I'm sorry. That's right.
So if it beacons every 15 minutes, it has recorded 30 seconds prior if it had a reception. So it knows if it got anything in the 30 seconds prior to that beacon time. So every 15 minutes it's going to beacon. These are questions. I'm not making statements about how it works. So every 15 minutes you beacon. So 30 seconds before that 15-minute mark, it didn't see anything, it's going to send out a beacon.
That's correct.
Okay?
That's correct.
However, if it did receive something in those 30 seconds, is it going to not check again for 15 minutes? Or is it going to wait 30 seconds and try again? It's implied it's going to be 15 minutes later.
I think it's going to be 30 seconds later.
Okay.
Again, I've never encountered it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's being communicated.
Okay.
These beacons roll continuously, so
Everybody else started at a different.
everybody else started.
Time.
That's right, and it just they never seem to knock heads. I suppose they could, but as I said, I haven't seen that, so I don't want to speak on it directly. I'm sorry.
It'd be my radio.
Be your
Right,
radio.
yeah.
That's right.
Every night on the net, I key up, I doubled with somebody.
Somebody else is there. That's right. Well, yeah, VarAC has not become quite that popular yet, but you know the ping feature is useful for trying to establish connectivity. Okay, now what you do now? Again, once you start doing a QSO, let's say you connect to somebody, it shows connected. You start texting. You know, it's a text thing, right? Very like Mesh, Tastic, I suppose. You do text, and when you're texting, it tells the other station that you are actually typing, so it doesn't think that you didn't get to connect or whatever. You know that it's happening. The messages are kept or queued, however you say that, so that as soon as the frequency opens up, it'll send. Let's see. It sends your call signal, your call sign periodically, you know, as FCC, every 10 minutes or so. Status bar shows the progress of a message. I don't see the status bar. It's hidden by that bottom graph, but when you send, it shows you the process of the message going through. You got tags, you know, you got gestures, you can put smiley faces, all stuff. But it's a bidirectional signal to noise ratio exchange, so you know how well you're hearing the other guy knows how well he's hearing you. And as I say, if you have it hooked up to a logging program, you don't have to do anything extra at the end of the queue, so it logs it automatically. Of course, tracking signal. I've never used the signal to noise ratio tracking, but that's another useful feature. File server we talked about. This is one of the most powerful features, I think, for EmComm use, because you have to pass traffic back and forth, and these can be you know, documents, forms, pictures. No internet's required. You can browse and download or not download, and the connected stations will see the files that are there, and they can download them immediately. I think that's everything there. Okay, bulletin board, we talked about that a little earlier. Forms and templates, another one of the strong points of any digital method that is connected to another station. It's got the EmComm, you know, ICS forms available in the program. You can make your own pre-written messages with keyboard shortcuts if you care to do that. So it's very big in the forms category, which is another feature that makes it very useful for emergency communications. Okay, typical use case of a bulletin board. All right, let's say you're out in the field. You know, you got to get information to your comrades. You know, multiple stations, whoever is tuned into whatever slot you happen to be on, because you're off of a calling frequency. How many times, I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? I didn't get the last, yeah, what was that? You know, there's none of that. It just goes through. Asynchronous check-in, Corey can check in, you know, Jim can check in, Wes can check in. You know, it's just there for the taking, and you know, situational awareness across wherever you happen to be. You know, it's just very, very useful in that regard. So you know, the VarAC bulletin board combines the benefits of a traditional bulletin board with a little bit more usability. All this other stuff. Let's see, infrastructure, independent communications, coordination. And again, if you've ever actually been in the field with some of our existing tools, you will quickly realize that this thing was set up to be better than those things, to offer additional advantages and to make it easier to do what we're trying to do. Let's see. All right, we're getting close to the end here. Best practices, pre-planned message formats and routing. You know, you're gonna Now, one of the nice things about VarAC is that when you get into the program, you can actually add frequencies to the frequency drop-down list where you would either find a slot or another calling frequency. And now you would do that by editing the INI file, and they tell you how to do it, but that's beyond the scope of this particular talk. But you can edit the INI file, and you can have different profiles. You can have different frequency groups if you want to use. Let's say, for example, if we decided that we're going to work on 30 meters because nobody else is. I'm sorry, 30 meters because nobody else is there, for example. And so everybody can just pick a 5, numbered frequency, 5 dot whatever, and assuming you're allowed to do that by your license class. I would say that for those who are listening. So you can have agreed upon frequencies. You can broadcast a message, which is basically what the older modes always did. It's just put out there, or then you can connect to another station and pass traffic to interconnected mode with error checking and all sorts of stuff we talked about. Very concise, redundancy, robust signal-to-noise ratios that decode very, very low levels. And it's just a good thing for field conditions when things might not be ideal for whatever reason. And the message types: shelter status, supply updates, weather alerts, resource requests. We need 10 cots and 30 meals for 50 people over here. Things just very, very easy to give detailed information. Or to request resources, whatever the case may be. So these things are all there, and it's going to take it's a learning curve. It's going to take some work, but this is modern digital HF communication, which is broad. I'll say far-reaching, speed, flexibility, usability, robust signal. Big improvement over PSK31, MT63. FL Digi. These things allowed us to see what digital modes could do, but because VarAC is a connected mode with error checking, it's much more, much higher fidelity, much less opportunity for missed transmissions, much less difficulty getting messages through with some detail and specificity. And it is growing. I think there's over 40 or 50,000 users right now that are using VarAC, and it's free currently. I think with that, we'll just take any questions. Now, I do want to say these videos, the first one, I think, is one that you really ought to have. Now, these will be live links on the website, on Anderson Radio Club's website, where the talk will be posted. I think it has been posted. We did it in 2 different versions on the website. We'll put this there too. But these are live links that you can go to, and I think we'll pause at this time and take any additional questions. But I do want to play one of these and let you kind of see what it looks like so you can get an idea of what's available and what I think is an invaluable training resource to help you get up to speed quickly with what many consider to be the future of emergency communication software for the marriage between our beloved radios and our computers. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doc, can you speak to we talk about the marriage between the radio and the computer?
Well, that was my question.
How would you connect it? How does this fit in with AUXCOM? And how as AUX, like say let's imagine we're all AUX-C communicators, right? We're at that level, and we have that certification. We would be applying this in the field. And can you give us a picture of that, what it would look like as off-sea communicators?
I think so. What I would say is, I'll show you in just a moment, but you're going to basically connect the computer to a Go box. And I got my Go box over here. I'm going to show you how it's done. But yeah, you basically connect the computer to the Go box. You'll have a USB cable going from your radio to the computer. You will select a COM port to allow the two to communicate. Once you have the computer talking to the radio, then you set your rig control things. It's a little bit to it. So I think, well, what time is it now, guys? What time is it now?
9:42.
Okay, so we got plenty of time. We just hadn't even been an hour yet. Okay, why don't we take a look at this video and see what MJ has to say about it here. See if we can get to that real quick. Let's see if we can. Let's see now. That's not coming through. Gary, can you pause the video for a minute? Okay. What I want to do is figure out a way to. I want to play this video through the.
There you go. You're pulling it up. Yep, you're doing it.
Is it? What's that?
You're dragging it to the other screen.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second. Let's do this then. Let's do that. Let's see.
One of the things it does really well is email.
Wait a minute. Yeah, let me come out of
If
that.
you're getting into the HF digital,
Let me do that for a second. Let's end the show. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, let's go. Let's pull that down. Ah, there we go. That is KW3KW, otherwise known as MJ. And he's going to tell you everything you ever want to know about VarAC, and encourage you to. I encourage you to get this video and put it in your library.
out there, and you're trying to figure out which one should I choose. Well, this is one of my top choices. It's called VarAC. Why? Well, first of all, easy to set up, has a lot of features and functions, very, very rich. However, there is one downside to it. It has so many features and functions, it can be overwhelming trying to figure out how to use this app. So if you're looking for someone to take you step by step, walk you through, make it simple, shorten your learning curve, in order for you to get up and have fun, then you have to watch this video. So if this sounds of interest to you, let's get started.
Can everybody hear that?
Hey, this is MJ, call sign.
You got one?
KW, and welcome to another episode of Ham Radio Made Simple. I'm continuing my series on ham radio for prepping. This is episode number 10, and I'm going to be focusing on the digital HF mode VarAC. Is it something you should consider? Absolutely. So if you're getting values from these videos, please hit the like and the subscribe button. And I just want to give a shout out to all those who have been giving me some great comments and positive feedback. I really appreciate it, especially in light. I apologize for not putting out videos sooner. But I've had
You got a
lot
Bluetooth? Is it Bluetooth?
of
Okay.
and in the seat and being able to record more videos for you all. So let's talk.
Hang on just a second, guys. We're going to see if we can get Bluetooth going here for this thing. Let's see. Oh, there it is. You got a Bluetooth? Is it Bluetooth? Okay.
In the seat and being able to record more videos for you all. So let's talk.
Hang on just a second, guys. It looks like it was recording. Is it supposed to record? For this thing? Is it supposed to record?
No.
Oh, there it is. It's recording me. It was. Let's see. All right, let's try it again here. Yeah, there you go. Not always desired, but we'll see here what we got. Let's see here. I'm looking for settings. Let's see if we can connect to the speaker here. Da-da-da. All right, let's look for Bluetooth. There we go. All right. Let's make it signal. Just looking to see if we can find this device here. What's it called? Was the Anchor?
Anchor.
Okay.
I'll be right back. See if I can find
You might have to put it in pairing mode.
Yeah, I was trying to do that by hitting the Bluetooth thing. And let's see here.
Most devices, if you have it off,
Yeah.
you press and hold the power button. It'll turn on and then go into into pairing mode after about 3 seconds.
Yeah, you can also hit the Bluetooth thing too. I tried both of those.
Oh,
Nothing's. Here we go. That's supposed to be
it
pairing.
don't like your Mac. That's what it is.
No, oh, here it is. Yeah, I got it. Great.
Uh-huh.
Connect. Okay, thank you, Jim. That worked out better.
Good deal.
Okay, let's see what's going on now. If we can get back to Mr. MJ there. Let's see. Where is he? That's on Chrome, so we'll come back to Chrome. Ah, there we go. Let's see what we got here.
Over today.
Ah,
What is
okay.
VarAC? Talk about the moving pieces, and there are a lot of moving pieces. This is probably the most feature-rich, complicated HF digital app that's out there today. And so I'm going to try to break it down. It took me a long time to do this, but to break it down, step by step, line by line, precept by precept, so that you can understand this and get up and running a heck of a lot faster than it took me to learn this thing. I'm going to go over setup. I'm going to go over the features. I'm going to do a short demo. Then if you stay to the end, I'll show you how you can get my user setup document, and I'll do a quick summary. So right off the bat, what is VarAC? Well, think of it as a keyboard to keyboard HF, doesn't have to be HF, but I'll be going over the HF side of this, QSO. So it's a fast chat, and it's great for random calls. If you're doing CQs, it works great. There's a lot of activity that's out there. For those who are looking to use HF Digital and have activity, this is the one you really want to try. For prepper side of me, I have to learn how to do the directed calls because I have friends out there that all throughout the country that we are practicing and trying to direct calls to each other using this application. And the more we learn about it, the more we like it.
Now, did you hear that? Practice, practice, practice. Get a friend, someone that, has your interests, and you guys got to play with this thing.
Therapist.
It's easy to get turned off by the complexity, but once you figure it out, I think you'll be glad you did.
Is email, or they call it VMail in their particular case. You can do general broadcast messages similar to JSA call, all call messaging, and I'll get more into that, and I'll break all this stuff down, line by line for you later. It sends files, it sends images, and power output, it can be anywhere from like 5 watts up to 50 watts, depending on your signal to noise ratio, your SNR reporting, as well as, if you're trying to do a directed call versus a CQ call, propagation, all of that stuff. So just think of it as 5 to 50. If you're doing CQ, it's going to be more on the lower end. If you're doing more directed calls, it's going to be on the higher end. So essentially what you're looking at here is an HF peer-to-peer real-time chatting application. Now what it uses the VARA HF protocol, or it could be the one again, I'm showing you, because you can actually use this with the VARA FM. So the software app, the VarAC, controls the rig, the frequency, the transmitting, and the mode. And it uses the Pactor protocols. It's similar to the signal-to-noise expectations on your levels with the FT8. And it actually can do, they call it a ping. It actually can do what an FT8 does, but doesn't look as clean and neat. So again, I'll break this all down to you. The upside of it is packets, so that you're guaranteed if it does go through, you're going to get 100% transmission. The downside on it is packet, and you won't get anything unless 100% of the transmission goes through. Blessing and a curse on that one.
Okay, just a second about that. That's why you'll see, and you'll see this when you start playing with it. If your signal noise ratio is less than minus 15 dB, it's just going to keep cycling, and you just might as well wait or connect with someone else on a different frequency that has a better signal noise ratio. That's what he's talking about. That's the automatic repeat request and the forward error correction. That's the downside of it. But most of your communications, especially locally, if both guys are using NVIS type antennas, you won't have any problem.
It's going to keep retrying under poor band conditions, and what that means is it's going to lead to a longer transmit time or even timeouts. So just trying to set your expectations here. Now, when we look at today, I'm showing the VARA HF mode in here, and the function of that is audio tuning. So your mode, VARA HF, your software application, VARA AC. You have to have those two to work together. And the function of the VARA HF is audio tuning on that. Now, you can do this on the HF with the VARA HF, or if you want to use the UHF VHF, you can download the VARA FM with the VARA AC. It will work on both of them. And for those who are really advanced out there, actually can do VARA satellite. Pretty cool stuff. So how good is VARA AC? I think it's going to be one of the top 3 choices for digital people out there today. One, just on the people using it, but it's so rich in features that are out there. It's really nice. So this is what it looks like, the screen, and it has, you can see it's very complicated. It has a lot of different options that you can use. Now, it's fast, pretty fast. If it's below, minus 10 dB, and boy, I tell you what, if you're at 0 dB or plus 5 dB, this thing is lightning fast. But it starts to wane at about minus 10 dB, and if it goes minus 15 dB, it's spotty at best. It's rich in features. There's a long, long learning curve, and hopefully after today's video, I cut that learning curve down by 2/3. And this is something you're going to need to practice, and there's so much information, and I apologize on that. I know a lot of you write back and say you have to watch it 2 or 3 times, but hopefully from one site, I can give you all the information you need to really use about 90% of this application, and it has a lot of functions. So again, it requires you have to download the VARA HF, and so the HF is the transceiver. On the HF transceiver, your bandwidth is going to be around 500 hertz. There's a free license that'll give you 170 bits per second. If you upgrade to the VARA HF tactical or full license, you're going to get about 1500 bits per second. So strongly recommend that. I'll put a link in the description below on the site to do that, as well as the video that I did on VARA HF WinLink, and I went through all of that, how to do all that stuff. So again, download the latest version of VARA HF, and it works on Windows or Linux. And again, a key requirement is patience, practice, and watching this video probably multiple times, or other videos that are out there that are pretty good, but they only give you pieces of it. So if we look at the download site, and this is the link in the description below, this is what you're going to get. This is the VARA AC. Right in here, web page, it pulls up. They're going to want you to first make sure that you're using the current version of the VARA HF, which at this time, June 3rd, 2023, is 4.7.2. So bottom line is, make sure you're using the latest updated version of VARA HF. And by the way, the VARA AC updates a lot, and they keep adding new features and functions all the time on it. So just be aware of that. So by clicking on this link right in here, up's going to pop this, and you go to this website's going to allow you to be able to download the VARA HF, or if you want to do the VARA FM, right in here. That's the site of the latest versions. If you scroll down to the bottom of the VARA AC page, you're going to get this at the very bottom left-hand corner. So staying on this page, scroll down, enter your name, your call sign, your email address, hit the download, and off to the races. So once you got it all set up and you downloaded, make sure that you probably reboot your computer. I just do that anytime I'm doing a lot of applications on that. And if this is your first intro into digital HF, watch some of my other videos because I talk about how to set up your sound card, all of that stuff, especially on FL Digi. I go in more in detail how to do that. So if you already know how to do it, you're all set to go. If you don't know how to do it, link will be in the description below. Watch that video, and I walk you through how to go into Device Manager.
Oops, sorry.
And set everything up. So VARA HF comes up first, and what you want to do is go to the VARA HF setup, and what you're going to get is this. Now, if you've been already using VARA HF and you bought your license, it automatically forwards in the registration key code. If not, you haven't done this before, you're going to have to put in your call sign, and you can see what the settings are right in here. But strongly recommend paying for the upgraded tactical license with VARA HF. So you also want to make sure that you turn the monitor off. So you want to go up here and the VARA HF under monitor, turn that off. Why? Because it won't send data to VARA AC unless it's turned off. It has to be on the on position to send data. You just receive. You won't be able to send any information out. I used to just kind of dismiss the screen. Okay, it's up and running. I got it set. Move on. Not so much anymore today. I tend to want to look at two things here. I'm going to look at the waterfall here, and I want to look at the bits, per second right in here. How well am I transmitting? How well is it going? The other thing, just to, again, a little common suggestion here is, turn the volume up a little bit on your rig so you can hear signals going back and forth. So if you're sending a signal, you wanna make sure you can hear it going out, and you wanna make sure that you can hear a signal coming in. So again, this is why you wanna look at this stuff, because sometimes there's an issue, and if you're not looking at these other tools that are just right in front of you, you're gonna be missing what the issue might be. So when we open up the VARA HF, and we go up under settings to sound card. To those who have VARA HF WinLink up and running, nothing new to you. To those who are using this for the first time, make sure that you put the microphone, the USB audio codec, in both your microphone and speaker. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the tune button. You're gonna,
Okay, hang on a second right there. These values are found in Windows Sound, okay? And again, it's the same for all the digital modes. You go to Windows Sound, you click on the speaker icon, and depending on what version of Windows you have, you either go to where all the audio inputs are. It's the ones that are in Device Manager at the top of the page where they say audio inputs. You'll see the native speaker, the native microphone that all the apps and the fun stuff runs through. And then you'll see something that says USB audio codec. Those are the ones you're going to want to connect to the radio. But again, it's not going to say use this to connect to the radio. It's just going to say USB audio codec. But this is what they're looking at in order for the computer to talk to the radio. Hang on. Yes, sir.
Running FT8.
Yeah.
That after I get done with FT8, it doesn't change those settings back.
That's correct.
So if I'm, bringing up Sound Player or Zoom or whatever, I've got to manually go into the settings in Windows and change it back to the speaker and microphone.
Yeah, and that, that's just something. That's just a quirk of dealing with Windows. It assumes that you're expert at dealing with computers and sound and what's playing through what and this and that. But the audio codecs are the ones that you want.
looking for someone to take you step by step, walk you through,
Wait,
make
did
it
I-
simple,
did we-
shorten your learning curve.
1 second. I
Looking for
think
some-
we accidentally went too far
So
back.
let's
here.
talk
see.
about where I'm gonna go.
Wait a minute, where are we here? I
And the more we
apologize
learn
for
about
that.
it, the more we
Let's go, where are we
to
here?
the races. So once you get it all set up and you're downloaded,
Just a minute. I think that's
you're
where
gonna
we
get-
stopped.
this screen's gonna pop up first.
Back up
It-
here.
At these other tools that are just right in
Okay.
front of you,
There we go.
you're gonna be missing what the issue might be.
Uh-huh.
So when we open up the VARA HF and we go up under settings to sound card, to those who have VARA HF WinLink up and running, nothing new to you. To those who are using this for the first time, make sure that you put the microphone, the USB audio codec, in both your microphone and speaker. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to hit the tune button. You're going to look at your rig and you want to adjust your ALC. Now, VARA HF says 1/3. I would not go past 1/3. Matter of fact, I would probably tend to drift more toward the lower end of this. I know some people just do it just slightly above the ALC or just barely showing. So anywhere from here to 1/3, no more than 1/3 out. When you first launch VARA AC, you won't get this screen. You will every time after. Instead, what you're basically going to get is this screen's going to pop up first. And it's going to require you to put in your call sign, your grid locator, basic where your location is, your name, etc. And, hit save and exit. Then the other screen will pull up. So from that point on, to get back to this screen, you're going to have to go to the main screen, under settings, under my information, and this is where you can find it. Now, understand all the information on my information is going to be used in my canned responses. Think of it as mini macros. So when I send a welcoming message, it's all that stuff is going to be included in it. So let's look at cat control settings under ICOM 7300, direct cat control. Again, you launch VARA AC, go to settings, go to rig control, configurations, and this should pull up. So what I'm going to want to do is hit the cat. I'm going to make sure that my COM port is correct, my baud rate is correct. Remember what's in my rig, what's in the software, and what's in my USB driver under Device Manager. For Silicon Labs USB driver, they all have to match. The baud rate has to be in there, and you just right mouse click on that baud rate, on the Silicon Labs information. You're gonna go into properties and under port, and this is where you're gonna put in to make sure that 3800 is there, 3800 is here, 3800 is right. That's the one I choose. You can choose 19.2, 115, 500 or whatever it is. Whatever COM port, they all have got to be the same, and your baud rates have all got to be the same. So next, push the talk on, and your rig should engage. Your transmission should go on. You turn it off. That means, okay, the transmission part is working. I hit the test button, and let me back up here. I hit the test button, and if my rig is in data mode, this should switch over to 7.105 on my rig, which means now I have rig control. Antenna tuner, it's your choice, on or off. The problem is if you're doing any kind of manual slot changes, it's going to set your tuner off in a crazy cycle, spin cycle. Because let's say if I go from slot 5 to 1, it's going to keep, every time I go 4, 3, 2, 1, it's going to try to tune it all the time. It doesn't work well. Leave it on if you're just doing CQ calls and you're not manually switching the slots and you're doing more of the automated process, which I'll explain later. Then you can have it on, but for me, I just leave it off. Relay on the VMail here. If you want to allow yourself to be able to relay VMails to others, this is where you need to make sure you put that on. I leave that on because a group of us relay messages back and forth through each other. Also over here on the right side, auto disconnect, standard is 5. I changed mine to 10 in the beginning just to give me more time so I don't get auto disconnected. You want to make sure the skip band is checked. I'll get into how you can change frequencies in a direct contact without having to do anything. It's a really beautiful way of doing it. Most people
I'm going to stop for just a second right
check
there.
that while you're
Let's
doing
see.
it now, so it makes.
I want to talk about something. If you notice, this is the most difficult part right here. In other words, making sure you got the correct COM port. That's whatever USB COM port your computer assigns to the radio once you stick it in there. This baud rate, this is the USB baud rate. On some radios, there's a couple different baud rates, but this is a big point of confusion because this one has to match the baud rate that's set into your radio, which has to match the baud rate that your driver, see again, the driver's baud rates. I mean, this is all, but you only have to learn how to do it once, and it works for all the digital modes. But it is a pain in the rear, but you just got to figure it out one time, and then you're good to go. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike, has anybody ever set this up? Have you done it yet?
FTA.
Okay, if you haven't done this, trust, I did it. And I experienced a whole lot of cognitive dissonance when I was going through it.
Grief.
And there were a whole lot of WTFIS moments when I went through this. I was going through it and I would just, this is a test of perseverance and to a degree. I will heads up, if you're feeling like this stuff is like you've just got a fog in your head at first, trust me, the fog will clear, and when it clears, it's like magic. The sun comes out. I can see clearly now. That kind of moment.
And if you don't use it, you're gonna forget it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, you will.
Exactly.
So,
And
you gotta
that's what I was
stick
going
with
to say is, because it's something you figure out once,
yeah,
you
gotta
forget
go back
it
to
before you need it again.
Go back to it. Trust me when I tell you, it's worth it when it clicks and it works. It's like magic, and it will, but it takes time.
It's just,
A lot of settings.
and I think this is the best video I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing it.
Hey, Doc, can you
Yes, sir.
go a little bit deeper on the antenna tuner?
Yeah, that's a good one. Most of the time we get used to using our tuners when we're, doing voice and stuff because you get a better signal. But with digital, like you says, every time you change a slot, it's going to be trying to tune it again. And it makes the process untenable. The good news is that your signal with digital is much less tune dependent, especially if you go through the setup where he showed you how to hit the tune button and set your ALC control. That really controls the fidelity of your signal. You don't want it to splatter. You want it to be full but not excessive. Level control is very important with digital communications, but you don't have to keep futzing around with it. Once you get it set, you can pretty much leave it there. But this business about the baud rate, now I can tell you how to do it on an EmComm, anything. I don't know where Yazoo and Kenwood put theirs. If anybody knows, it'd be a nice thing to share, especially if you're trying to communicate with somebody else you want to work with this. But the parity, the data bits, the stop bits, that doesn't really change that much. But the baud rate has to match the driver and the USB baud rate that you have your radio set at. Okay, all right. I'm going to drill that point down because that's a major
You'd be able to use
point
it
of,
later,
you
and
know.
then hit the save and exit. Very similar setup on the FL rig. The difference is you're gonna go with FL rig instead of a direct cat control.
Everybody know what that is?
Same thing, push the talk on,
Okay, hang
push the
on.
talk off,
Let's
see if your rig is able to
let's
transmit.
drill down on that. Okay. This goes to controlling the radio. If you've ever played with FL Digi, FL Rig is a control program that works with FL Digi. You can use FL Rig to control most modern radios, and it's the same thing as far as picking a COM port, making sure the USB baud rate is correct and symmetrical across the radio, the driver, and the program. You can use FL Rig to control your radio. And if you also see OmniRig up there, that's another program which allows you to exercise cat control. But again, if you go to cat control, CAT, and then the drop down, you'll find most radios listed in the list. Flex is there, EmComm is there, Kenwood is there. But again, this is the nuts and bolts of digital comms. You got to do this for all of them. FT8, if you play with that, you've done it, and it kind of gives you an introduction to how this works. But again, you got people in the club that have done these things. If you're interested and you get frustrated, I'm available, Wes is available, Jim is available. I mean, we love, showing you how smart we are.
As a separate program for this?
No, you have to be running FL Rig and have FL Rig talking to your radio. No, it's not built in. It's a separate. That's why I wouldn't even. I just go with cat control. It's a lot easier. All right.
So you're saving these settings.
Yes.
I see down below that in the menu on the left-hand side, there's a switch profile.
Yeah.
Is that a different radio user or?
No, that's going to be your INI file that we talked about as far as changing frequencies. That's one. Profiles, another INI file.
Okay.
And when you look up the documentation for VarAC, you'll see how to change profiles. What you basically, an INI file is a text file in Windows, which can be edited with a regular, you can use whatever, text editor.
Well, where I'm headed with this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is I'm wondering, could you write a batch file, going back to your question earlier, that when you're done playing with radio, you want to put your PC back to quote normal mode.
Yeah.
Could we have batch files that run that swap these out?
That's beyond my knowledge, but the only thing you got to flip back is the sound, usually. But I guess you could. I've never. I don't know about that. No. The profiles have to do with. I think he told you that you could do this with FM, or you could do it with HF. That's an example of different profile, and then you can put different frequencies in there for your particular comms group if you want to do that, and those are all INI files that can be edited in the Windows part of the program. Okay.
Does the INI file store the radio, like the COM ports and USB and all that? So
I believe it does, but
I've got my Yazoo at home,
right.
and I decide to buy a 7300 to take out in the field,
Right.
but it's the same computer, so I'd want to swap depending on what radio I'm on.
Yeah, I would think. Now, I've never done that, but I would think that the INI file is probably rig specific. Son, I'm sorry.
Never done it?
I tell you, this is the introduction.
You gotta go out and buy a Yazoo.
That's right.
That ain't gonna happen.
Tell the wife we made you do it.
I'm trying to, be neutral, but I'm an EmComm fanboy. I shamelessly admit it, and because it's just a whole lot easier to work with. I've known people that couldn't get Yaesu radios to do this, and they like Yaesus, but anyway,
You're gonna wanna make sure that.
those are my
you have
biases.
data mode and hit the test, you're ready to change over to 7.105, so that means RIC control is working.
Yeah, you got that. Right.
Auto disconnect here, as I'm just showing you, it's typically when it defaults to, it's 5 minutes. If there's a failure point on this and you set up your files and it can't find the ADFI file, you'll get an error message in here. Just make sure that when you're unzipping your files, for me, I basically go to my C drive, I set up a new folder, VarAC, I unzip it there and I keep everything operating in that one file. It's easy to find, it's not in a document or whatever. Best practice, and you won't have that problem. Again, save and exit, and off we go. So if you go under, if you want to edit the frequency drop-down list, again, under settings, go down to edit frequency drop-down list. Important thing to take away from the slide is these are the main calling frequencies, and this is where you do a CQ and your beacons. You cannot do a CQ or beacon on a slotted channel. It has to be the main calling frequencies. But I can move to, once I get connected, you have to move off the main calling frequencies to free it up and go to 1 through 5, 11 through 15 on the different channels. So I just want to show you an example here. Here is, for example, I'm on slot, okay, my calling frequency is 7.105. I moved all the way over to the right, that's slot 15. All the way over here would be slot 1, so slot 15. And my frequency is 7.108.750. So that's the frequency within the main calling frequency based on the fact that I'm on slot 15. If I want to get back to the main calling frequency, I could just hit this little return arrow, and this should drop me back to 7.105. A lot of information, but again, once you get used to using this, that's why I keep saying practice on this. Now, when you do add additional calling frequencies, you're going to see them in here. They're going to show up. A lot of times you have to close the program and reopen it to show up the changes that you put in here. And I'm going to walk you through on how to do this. But again, this is going to show you more than these channels or frequencies. They're going to give you a lot more. So if you walk away from the slide, remember, for CQs and beacons, you've got to use the main channels, which have the high activity. And if you add new channels, you got to know which the main calling channels are if you're looking to do a CQ on those main channels where the high activity resides. So the only reason you're adding additional frequencies is for direct contacts with other people. So typically this is what a screen would look like here, and we're going to start to break this down. But my one point is this: it does not have a transmit button to hit. You just hit the enter key on your keyboard and it sends the messages. Now let's kind of like break down the screen, and then I'm going to break down the functions following this. So just real quickly, the connect, if I want to do a direct connect with somebody without having to go anything, I can either just type in their call sign in here, or if I've spoken to them in the past, had a QSO with them in the past, hit the drop down menu, select that call sign, hit the connect button, and the QSO is going to request it. If they're on the air with them, we should get connected and we're good to go. Next is, here's the slider button to move back and forth to change your slots. Again, must be on the main channel to do CQ or beacon. I'm going to keep driving that through your head because that was a problem for me. There's a lot of quick help functions. You can, in the setup, you can hit the question mark and it gives you a quick explanation, or just hold your cursor and take your mouse, put your cursor over call CQ or next beacon. And information will pop up, and only holds for about 6 to 10 seconds. You can read it, and it basically is a help menu along the way. So nice, intuitive way they have brought in a help menu without having to go out and try to find the information about what they're talking about. Right mouse clicks for shortcuts. Again, you can either do multiple ways to skin this cat or peel the banana. If I just right mouse click on either a call sign in here or in here, it's going to give me 6 or 7 options what to do. And again, I'll break all of this stuff down. So again, let's move on. These are your beacon and CQ windows. You'll be spending a lot of time focusing your eyes over here. This is what you're looking at. If you want to be doing VMails or emails, you're going to be looking over in the top right corner. This is the read-only area. So if we look in here, and I'll pull this up, you can see blue is basically what is incoming, red is outgoing. Transmit and receive is the blue. It gives you a signal to noise ratio report. So, Jim's getting me at -4, I'm getting him at +4, is what you see on that. So, by the way, I did, when you get this, it's evenly split. So I just take this till I get the double arrow, move it up and shorten it because you're not gonna get many general broadcasts. So make that window as small as possible and open up the read window more. I'm away. What's nice about that is I can leave my system on, I can still relay messages, I can still get emails, I can leave that on, but I'm not getting CQ'd. People, if they try to CQ me, it's gonna tell them I'm away, but they like to leave me a voicemail message. So great tool to have out there to be able to use to, if you're expecting information and you wanna not be bombarded by a bunch of other people, it's basically saying, I'm here, but I'm not taking messages, but you can leave me an email. Really nice. Hit the mute and sounds. I'm telling you, this thing is, can be a positive if you're away from it. You're waiting to hear, like if someone's trying to give you a CQ and you're maybe just stepped away from your computer. It's nice to let you know, but if you're at your computer, turn it off because it's like AOL. You've got mail. Can be very annoying when I can actually see things happening in front of my screen. So basically, step away and you want to find out what's going on, turn that on. Otherwise, leave it off. Canned messages are.
Go ahead.
Do you know if you can do a filter? So basically, you only respond to these messages. I mean, from these senders.
Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. Yeah, I don't. I didn't see that when I was playing with it, and a couple times I was communicating with another hand, learning how to use the program.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to communicate, you just don't connect.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Are down here in the bottom area, and those are again the mini macros. Your typing area is down here at the very, very bottom. This is where you type your message. You do not type your message up in the blue area, light blue area. You type your messages down here. And for logging information, this is what you're gonna see pop up, call sign, the band, the name, all this. If you like logging this information, which my buddy, KO4 UGF, Jim does, this is where you're gonna see it, and he has it set up to log all of his calls. So let's talk about random versus directed calls. There's a big difference in performance. It's easy to do a random call. And if you want to do a random call, this is where you're going to use the CQ button and the beacons. And you can pick the people up in the top right-hand corner that was in the green, pick a lower dB to have greater success. Remember, typically -15 or greater, forget it, you're wasting your time, I think. Unless it's an unusual call sign you really want to try to connect with, because it's packet, it has to have 100% hit. I would definitely look for someone, for example, at 00, or even -7, -10, you should be able to pick somebody up. A lot of activity, 20 meters daytime, 40 meters nighttime is really busy. Doing directed calls, you want to definitely add your own frequencies, and you want to go to the unused portion of the bands. You want to go 30 meters, 60 meters, and 80 meters. Those are great ones for directed calls. Now you have to understand the main logic on here. The main calling channels are the initial connection. Get the initial connection and move to a sub-channel. That's what they're trying to basically get you to do. So once connected, move to a slot. There's slots 1 through 5, 11 through 15, 750 hertz apart. So here, once we got connected at 7105, we moved to slot 11, and you can do it manually through the slider, or a better way I'll show you here is just a second. Note that this system does time out. If there's any inactivity, you're not doing anything, it's kind of like a screensaver, 5 minutes from time of setting, you're kicked off. If you're on the main channel too long, I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes, you're kicked off. It's gonna give you a warning that you have to move. If you want a QSY in a different slot, go ahead and do it, otherwise it's gonna kick you off to free it up. And it's a good feature that they do. So you don't got people, hogging a particular channel. They want you to move to the other sub-channels within it, which is a great feature. On the main calling channels, there's additional calling frequencies, and this is what you do. You go under settings, at a frequency drop-down list, and you start adding the frequencies in. And you can see I've added quite a few, and I love them. And I send those frequencies in a list to my other friends, and they all load them into theirs. So we can basically say, hey, instead of trying to manually add it in, we can say, let's drop down to 1.855 and connect, versus go ahead and take the time and enter it in. So again, write down the main calling frequency so you don't get them confused with your own personal ones.
Now, direct calling, we're gonna add these frequencies, create your own list. You're gonna find less activity. This is gonna be where you're gonna wanna send files. This is where you wanna have group nets. And it's particularly, what you wanna do is not only have a particular call frequency, but a slot within that, your own personal frequencies, to do all of this, and you're gonna find, again, less activity. So again, when you make these changes in here, you gotta close and launch the program again. A beacon, love this function. Similar to the JSA call heartbeat, goes off every 15 minutes, though you can kick it sooner by just basically clicking on send a beacon. You have to hit it once, wait a few seconds, and hit it again, and an automatic beacon goes off. But you must be on the main channel. Does everyone get that now by this point in time? So, right in here, see, next beacon is in 13 minutes and 39 seconds. If I just went ahead and click this once, wait a second, click it again, and I can manually send it off within that 15-minute time interval. This is basically where you want to get propagation reports. And I've done this in the past. So let's say I'm trying to connect with someone in Texas, and what I'm trying to do is find out whether or not it's feasible. And so we'll do a beacon report to each other, try to get the signal to noise ratio report to know whether or not we're under 15, minus 15 dBs. And if we are, we'll go ahead and try to do a direct connect after that. So again, great way to make a contact for direct calls through the beacons.
Now, you could either do this with PSK Reporter, or you could ping the station you're connected to, and you will see their signal to noise report, and they will see yours. And like you said, if it's less than minus 15, you're wasting your time. You want minus 10 and above, you're great then. And if you're on an NVIS antenna, you ought to get that 99% of the time. Now, if you go on if you're a DXer, you're on your own. but as far as local, it works extremely well within 400 or 500 miles of where you are. All right, where are we here?
Ping.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah.
What is a ping function?
Just talked about ping.
It's not like FT8, and yet it is like FT8. It's an FT8 experience, but it's not going to show up on the screen. It shows up on your logs. So it's basically exchanging reports. When I hit the ping, I kept hitting the ping and going, okay, I don't see any information. Where's the information? It's in the logs. So I'll show you that here when I get into a little bit more here. But remember I talked about right mouse clicking? If I right mouse clicked on a call sign, highlight it, right mouse click, I can clear, I can copy, I can connect, I can ping. This is where I can get a report, or I can go over here and hit the ping button, either way. So I can ping KO4UGF, Jim, by hitting it here, or I can right mouse click here and ping somebody over here. Again, multiple ways to do it, either through a drop-down list over on this side, or through either a beacon or a CQ. You can send VMail, you can broadcast a reply. There's so much you can do through the right mouse click. QRZ.com lookup, which is really nice. I like to know where they are. So again, PSK reporter lookup, and I'll get into that toward the end. So you're gonna find the reports under logs, under under VarAC log, you'll find that FT8 quote experiences. Again, it doesn't look the same, but it is something that's out there. It disconnects after the report is sent, and if you want, you can have it set up to log and be reported to PSK Reporter if you have that connected in the initial. When I did the cat control setups in there at the bottom left, there is a checkbox, and I do it because I use PSK Reporter. I would recommend you do too. To broadcast a message, it's not private. Think of it as an all call. It's a message sent over the air. There's no acknowledgement. There's no guaranteed delivery. You just hit the broadcast over here. You type in the message, what you want, and it goes out. Now, who has value on this? If I am on, I have a group of people, we're off on one of the frequencies, custom frequencies I put in on a particular slot, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of people can have a net this way, or a group of people, and be able to do messaging through the broadcast side of it. So again, for direct calling, makes a lot of sense. This is what it's going to look like. I went ahead, typed this in. I hit broadcast or broadcast and close, and this is what the message looks like. It pops up down below. Again, group announcements, separated frequency list, a slot number for the group. This is how you want to set it up for directed calls. Let's talk about the VMail workflow. This is when you're going to send, and this is more private, a message. Again, general message, even to a group on a particular channel. This is even better. So If you can get to this, to the point where you get used to sending emails, it's really nice. So how to send an email, you can either do it indirectly or directly, and I'll walk you through all of this in here. So here we're gonna wanna do, remember on the far right side, this is, remember I talked about all this is so on the far right middle part of the screen, send email. And what I'm gonna do is type into who I want to send it to, I do the subject, I put my message in, and I go ahead and next, if the person is not on, okay, the email's gonna come back and say, tell you, you are not connected to anyone at the moment. Your email will be waiting to be sent in your outbox folder. Once connected to the destination, the email will automatically be forwarded. So bottom line is, I can still send it to him, and Jim's not on, but he gets on later and I'm on later, or someone else that I relayed it through another person, a third party. When someone is connected where it's sitting in the outbox, either in a parking situation, or in mine, and then it gets relayed and he gets the email. So hopefully that makes sense. You can actually see it's in my outbox waiting to go. So on the receiving end, it's going to say, hey, it's going to tell you if you have the voice on, you've got mail. And here's your new mail, V-mail in there. I can read, reply, and send. Those are my options. And so I go ahead, click it on. I'm going to pull up and open up the email. Very simple. I click on this window pops up. Here's my inbox. I click on the email that I want to read. It pulls the information up, and pretty simple, pretty intuitive. So next, if I want to reply, I can go ahead and reply back to them and then just hit the send function. So I can, again, read, reply, and then send. Does that make sense? So let's talk about relaying messages. So basically, when you hear parking, that's relaying. That's third person relaying the message for you. And it's optional by user. I don't have to allow people to use my rig, because I'll tell you, when you're relaying a message, you can be sitting there and your rig goes down without you knowing it. It's probably relaying a message. Or your beacon report is going off every 15 minutes. So when your rig start to go into a transceive mode. So again, this is where, if you don't want it, you can uncheck it. But if you want it, this is where you want to make sure it's checked. With the relay features, here's the relay box, and here's the relay notifications telling you. And it should show you also in the parking. If I'm trying to relay a message for someone else, it's going to show up under the parking as one message or two or whatever. But again, be careful when relaying. This is another ham's rig which is going to be taken over. So I usually try to relay through people I know. We were trying to relay messages through people that were just, showing up on the beacons. And I was actually interrupting a guy who was in some other calls that were going on. And we were taking over his rig and it was transmitting. And he was really gracious about it. But again, do it to people that you know and expect it and allow it. So again, real quickly here, parking, that's a relay. And you can either send or send and disconnect when you're trying to do this. So now we get into what is known as key terms. Okay, we're talking about the I'm away function. What is I'm away? Well, I'm away, when enabled, basically allows me to be on, but in an inactive state. I can send messages, I can allow pings, signal noise reports, but anyone trying to connect to me directly is going to get a message saying I'm not available. Your partner seems to be away. Would you like to leave a message in the mailbox? Leave a message. I love this function. So something you might want to consider if you're stepping away and you're expecting some messages coming in or relaying messages for others, make sure that's clicked. So email works even when you're not at the desk, but it's in the on the way mode. Now, when you're sending files and pictures, it's not robust enough like WinLink HF, but it is something that can be there. So if I was connected, it wouldn't be gray, it would be blue. So you must be connected to send a file. It's not going to go into someone's parking. So you must have a greater signal to noise ratio. So what does that mean? Again, this is where you have to try it, but I wouldn't, listen, -5 or, up to, 0 and going up is where I consider doing it. I wouldn't do it anything less than that. For me, if I was trying to send to somebody, I'd hope I'd be at least 0 dB or above.
It's kind of like, it's easier to send a text on your phone than it is to call someone. You need more bandwidth to make a call. then you do the send the text. So with this and most of these programs, you need more bandwidth to send a file than it does just to send a character-based message like a text or even an email. So just want, we have experience with this with other modes.
You can do low resolution pictures, black and white type of things. There's no form capabilities like WinLink HF does, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but when you're doing like WinLink and you're sending these forms that are back and forth, the forms are not being sent. The data within the forms are being sent from one template form to a blank template form on the.
Okay, I tell you, with some of the newer versions of the program, they do have forms. The ICS forms are there. And like you said, it's not sending the form, it's sending the information. And on the receiving end, it will repopulate into a form. A heck of a lot of engineering went into this program. This guy's just, unbelievable with what he has done with VarAC. It's extremely nice.
The other side, since this doesn't do forms, it doesn't do, it has no form capability whatsoever. Hopefully that makes sense.
It does now.
Again, when you're gonna do this, move off to, off the main calling frequency list, go to a slot number. Definitely you're gonna have the upgraded version on this. And you can actually send these images at 2300 versus the 500, but you're not to talk or do normal, I call it a VarAC type of business on the 2300. It's basically dedicated for sending files.
Yeah, more bandwidth.
And here you can see the setting 500 or 2300. So 2300 is you're not gonna be on the main calling frequency. You're gonna be off the main calling frequency on a slot or a different frequency. And you're gonna be using the 2300 if you have the paid license. Now, on the CQ workflow, making a CQ call, all you have to do is simply click the CQ button. It's as simple as that. You're gonna be on a main channel, remember, and then the slot sniffer is gonna pop up, and this is what the slot sniffer looks like, right in here. You can hit the hold, and if this turns green, showing like slot 15, green, good to go. I can pick a different slot, hold down the slot sniffer. If it turns green, means that slot's not busy and you're good to go. So you're trying to find something that's open. Respondents will be on that slot number automatically. So if someone responds to you and did a CQ and I'm saying slot 15, they're gonna respond, they're gonna respond back, moving off the main channel to slot 15. This is why you don't have to do the manual process. This is, again, really, really nice way of doing it. So simply click call CQ. Simple. Call CQ, slot sniffer, pick the right slot channel, and hit send. That's all you have to do. So let's kind of receive a CQ call. All you have to do, best practice, is just double click a call sign of a sender, okay? So you can right mouse click and you can do all of the stuff that you want in here, which is, I do it, because this is all these functions that operate within here. I might want to, before I respond, I might want to look them up, for example, to go in there, or look at their call sign history if I talked to them before or whatever.
Okay, quick point here. If you notice on the left side, these are the people who are just sending a beacon. They may or may not be available for a CQ. If they're there and you double click on them, you can connect to them. But on the right side where the blue is, these are people that have sent CQ requests that want to be reached. And if you send your CQ, that's where it's going to show up on their screen. So it's sort of, gives you, a little bit more information about who's wanting to talk. I have clicked on beacons like for hours and got nothing. But if you click on a CQ, chances are somebody will show up.
But if I just simply double click this without right mouse clicking it, it's gonna connect me. Make it simple. And here's to be able to see all of this in a little more of a breakdown position. They're at slot 1, their signal to noise ratio -18, iffy, okay? I'm gonna tell you that right now. So I can manually change, but use the automated process is much easier to do it. Now, I want to stay connected to move to an agreed slot change. Let's say we're both on an existing slot and I want to change even from that slot change. You can do that to both rigs. You can both change your frequencies and you can also change your slot numbers while connected. So I can go over here, for example, and I'm talking to, KE4TP. I'm connected to that person. I can just make a request for a slot change on here and move the slot. So changing frequencies. So let's say I have an existing connection. All I have to do is go over here and hit this pound sign. So let's say, Jim at KO4 UGF, we're already talking, and the 40 meter band is starting to fade, and we want to jump, or let's say the 80 meter band is fading, we want to go to the 40 meter band. All I have to do is hit this button here. I'm going to type in let's say 7.105, and I leave the 750 in there because that's basically slot 11. And I've typed in 7.105, and I can go ahead and just send QSY invitation. KO4 UGF will get it, Jim will get it, and he can accept it, and both of us are all of a sudden now moved from 3.595, we're now moved to 7.105 at slot 11, or whatever frequency you want to type in here. And you can do a frequency sniffer if you want to do the same thing, just to make sure, especially if you're going back to main channels, you're going to want to put that in there. But this is a way to change a frequency within a direct call. I think that is so cool. Simply just type it in, send a QSY invitation. Nice. Now I can also move up and down one slot by using the up and down keys over here on the side. So I want to go up slot, one slot down, and it can make a request the same way too. So single slots, frequency change. Think of this, single slot, frequency change to a connected person.
Okay, point. One of the easiest ways to do this when you're learning is call your partner on your cell phone and just sit there and play with it, because you're not going to know, he won't know, she won't know, whatever. Okay, I'm getting ready to send you a QSY request. Did you get it? Yes, I got it. You send me one. Did you get it? Yes, I got it. It just cuts down the guesswork when you're learning. Now, once you become a VarAC expert, like Wes over here, so you want to do all that. Okay.
Now, PSK Reporter, love it. This allows you, and again, the link will be in the description below, but you have to put on, for example, I got 20 meters, I want to show my signal, my call sign put my call sign in here, I'm using VarAC, I'm looking at the last 3 hours, I hit go, and it's going to show me up here. Anytime you see these numbers right in here, last 2 hours, whatever, you can click that on and get more information. But these are the people that I'm reaching on 20 meters, and these are the other people that are using that frequency that are on VarAC at the time. I'll take you through about a 7-minute demo trying to tie everything together we just spoke about. So let's get over to the VarAC screen now. Okay, let's get into a quick demo here. Try to keep this to about 8 minutes as possible. We talked about the version. This is VARA 7.17 up here on the header bar. What we have here is settings, and under settings I can look at, for example, my rig control information, and so I pull it up. Just quickly make sure your PSK reporter is checked if you're using it. Feel free to hit these question marks. They give you a quick hint about the function and feature of each of these different options within the settings setup. Hit save and exit. Next, I'm going to take you over to logs. This is where the VarAC logs are. When you do your ping reports, that's where they're going to show up. Resources, make sure you use the quick start guide and the user manuals. They give you a lot of great information, and you don't have to go searching on the web. It's all built in. Again, whoever thought of this did a well thought out job in trying to put this together and make it user friendly as possible. But they give you so many options that until you learn the best practice of how to use this thing, it can seem overwhelming. So let's just kind of talk about the drop-down frequency list right in here. These are the main calling channels that all the activity wants to be on. When you add your own additional frequencies, you're not going to distinguish the one for the main calling frequency from your own. So I suggest you write these down and keep them over by your rig so that.
Yeah, good point. I had talked to Irad Douche about maybe making one of them red or blue or something, but it hadn't happened yet. So you're going to have to write down the main calling frequency. Really you're looking at 20 meters, 40 meters, and maybe 80, maybe some little bit on 30. But so when you put your frequencies in there, you'll know because if you go to a calling frequency, it's going to kick you off. So you have to know what you've put in, just so that's one less thing to get frustrated about. But that's something that hopefully they'll change in the future.
When you want to do the QSOs on the main frequencies, calling channels, that you know which ones they are. So we'll leave it on the 20 meters. The slot here, I can just drag that over. At slot 3, once I started doing that, I can basically use the arrow buttons on my keyboard, and let's say I'm at slot 1. So here's your calling frequency, here's your slot number, this is the actual frequency for slot 1, and I can return to the main calling frequency by just clicking that little button. If I wanted to do a direct contact, all I have to do, for example, in here, is I can type in, let's see here, KO4UGF, and that's Jim, and then I would just hit the connect button, and Jim could accept the request if he was on, and that's how you do a direct connect. Very, very simple. If you are dealing with if you look over here in the beacons, and over here is your CQs, look at these like -18 and -19. Those are the ones that if you try to connect to them, it's going to get hung up because it's packet. It's just going to try to resend it over and over again. And again, if you're on the main calling frequency, it's going to kick you off pretty quickly. But if you're in a slot, like for example, let's say I went to slot 1 and I'm trying to slot 5, for example, it's not going to disengage as fast as you are on the main channel. So this thing could go on for 3 or 4 minutes. And so if I requested for Jim to meet at 14.101 slot 5, 14.105 slot 5, he agreed to get on there, and I'm trying to connect to him, and we're getting into this cycle of a packet's not making its way all the way through. It's going to get hung up. So you're going to want to hit the disconnect or the abort, one of these two. Try to disconnect first. If that doesn't, hit the abort and just stop it. But that's going to happen when you're dealing with really bad signal to noise report issues. If someone's like, at a -8 or a 5 or a 2 or 0, 0 or 1, you're hardly ever going to use the disconnect. So it's basically I call it a bad loop cycle due to the bad signal to noise report. Hopefully that makes sense in here, so you understand how to do that. To call CQ, just hit call CQs, and I walk you through that whole process. That's simple there. Beacon is paused, but if you hover over the beacon, again, like with that question mark, it's going to give you information about that. Ping, the same thing. Connect for an SNR report only. So remember, you're not going to see it on the screen. You got to go under the logs to find that. So I think we pretty well covered this. Over here, you can right mouse click on anything, and you can look at all of the options, whether you want to do a connect. Best practices, if you want to connect, just double click this or double click over in the CQ, and it's going to get connected. But you may want to do a QRZ lookup, for example, here. And this is going to show you where Cameron Hurd from Austin, Minnesota. If you're watching this, hey, send me a message. But essentially, what that does is allow you to be able to see who you're going to connect with if you want to do it before you even do it. So again, right mouse click a lot of these things, double click right away to get engaged quickly without having to go over here and try to hit the connect button. So we went through this. You see the signal to noise ratio column here, and you see the slot number. So for example, if I was trying to connect to this CQ in here, by agreeing to that, I'm agreeing to be automatically moved over to slot 11. That's how that works. And that person's long gone. It's been over an hour. But if I just double clicked it, the connecting process would begin. On Away is a great feature. If you just want to monitor what's going on, or you're stepping away and you still want to receive emails, leave that on, or relay messages for your buddies, put that on, otherwise turn it off. Mute all sounds is interesting. It's great if you're away, but if you're right in front of it, it can get annoying after a while. Beacon is paused, so let's go ahead, send beacon. It's going to, okay, send beacons, it's gonna go back on. For some reason, it's not showing up on that, but anyhow, we'll come back to that. If I look down and through here, this is where you send vmail, do general broadcast over here, and PSK reporter map comes up. If I wanted to change frequencies within a connected call, the pound button. If I wanted to change slots within a connected call, down or up, those two arrows, remember that. This is your review area right in here, so you're going to get your transmission text and your receiving text are all going to happen in here. This is your broadcast screen, and again, you can move it, to whatever size that you want. I usually make it smaller. Type in messages right in here, so I can test 1, 2, 3, hit send, from down in here, hit enter, and if I'm connected, the message goes over. I can also choose if I wanted to, instead of typing in, I can just send my info, and I can hit send, and that will go over. But at the very end, what you really want to deal with is this one is called 73s. You want to hit 73 at the very end, and what that's going to do is basically it's the disengage command that goes out saying, thanks, bottom line, gone, this QSO is over. So, again, just a quick highlight into this. Hopefully the earlier explanation makes a lot more sense now that I went into, and I think you're going to be able to grasp this now that you've been able to watch this video. So if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. Otherwise, let's get back and wrap this thing up.
Okay,
So,
that's pretty much it. I highly recommend this video. You just gotta go over and over and over and play with it, get a partner. You could do it by yourself, but it's much better if you could, because then you could do a directed call to whoever you're playing with. And you can you can kind of enjoy it together and, share ideas and this, that, and the other. And with that, I'm going to conclude. Any questions that, excuse me, I'm sure you've got 50 million, but you'll think of them later. Again, I'm available. You can give me a call. If I have time, I'll let you know. We can do something. I'm usually good most evenings. And with that, I'll thank you for your participation. I was going to try to set up a VarAC session here, which I can do, but my Windows computer, I don't know how to see what you see on the screen. So it's going to be very awkward to try to navigate and show you stuff. So if anybody's interested, just wants to hover around the box, I can do that, but I won't be able to project it like I'd like to because my computer does not let me see what is being broadcast. It doesn't have a mirror feature. Okay, well, that's really it for the formal presentation. Anybody wants to hang around and play with VarAC, I can set it up, take about a 5-minute break, and I'll have it running. Anybody wants to do that? If not,
Well, thank you.
73.
Thank you.
All right.
Doc, seems like at some point we ought to have a VARA AC.